Hi everybody, this is Greg Phelps at Business for Photographers. Normally I'm sharing things with you on how to manage a photography studio, how to price your work, how to deal with clients, how to market for best effect, and things of this nature. But today I'm going to break from that a little bit. I'm going to share with you how I work with HDR. Now, I'm primarily an architectural photographer, and HDR is a tool that has developed over the last 2-3 years that has really becoming more and more and more popular. And there are a lot of ways to use it, everywhere from creating high art to photorealistic type images. Now, since I work primarily for architects and contractors, I'm more concerned with producing a photorealistic image because that's what my clients want. Now, this is a building that I photographed just recently in Houston. It's the Wells Fargo Plaza, downtown Houston. It's going to be part of an exhibit that will be opening in March of this year. And so I want to share with you how I ended up with the final image that we have for this. Now, as you can see, this particular image has a pretty good highlight range from the brightest area in this cloud formation to that really gets dark here in this portico, and we have the dark foliage with the green leaves and stuff. So this is the way that I do it. The first thing I do, of course, is determine the particular view that I want. And after I have the camera set up, it's anchored good and solid on a nice firm tripod, I'll take out, yep, I know, an old-fashioned 1-degree spot meter and start measuring around so that I can see what the total exposure range. And I went from the brightest area in my image that I want to maintain detail in this cloud formation to the darkest area underneath the portico here that I wanted to have a little bit of highlight, or a little bit of shadow detail in when we've done it. And the rest of the image, we want just a nice smooth gradation of light to dark. Okay, so once I've done that, I've determined now that it's going to take 9 images, one stop apart, in order to get the number of exposures that I need to create the image that I want. So we're working here in this particular case with JPEG images, because normally I would photograph these on a Hasselblad H4D 60 megapixel camera, and the file size from that camera is 360 megabytes when I'm working at full resolution, which is the way I always work on my computer. But for the sake of this video, so that we don't have to sit and wait hours for this thing to churn, I've condensed everything to JPEG. Now, this is the brightest image that we've had at 4 stops over, and this is the darkest image that we have at 4 stops under. And here we have, as you can see, the full range of the clouds, and here we are starting to pick up. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger in this preview so you can see it. We're starting to pick up a little brightness here underneath the roof area. So okay, once we've done that, and we have the images and they're in their raw format, regardless of whether you're working with Canon, Nikon, Hasselblad, or whatever, while you have the images in the raw format, go to whatever raw file converter you're using, and the first thing you want to do is go and run the chromatic aberration correction feature on all of these images. In case you don't know what that is, you're not going to see it here because the image is too small. But what that is where we have a really bright area with a darker area butted up against it. We usually get either some kind of ugly looking red or bluish green line that will outline everything that we want. And of course, we want to get rid of that. That is not professional and it's not attractive to have that. So your raw file converter, whether it be Camera Raw or Hasselblad's proprietary software or Nikon software, they all have a feature in there that you can get rid of this line, which is called the chromatic aberration. So I run that first, and then I convert the images to normally a TIFF, but for this purposes, JPEGs. Okay, so here we have them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the 9 images that we're going to be working with. And I do my HDR in Photomatix. I find that for me, that just seems to give me the best starting point. And the key word here is starting point. So we're going to drop it right on top of the Photomatix icon. I'm on a Mac, so this is really easy to do this. We click on Merge for HDR Processing. We do OK. The images are already loaded, so all we have to do is hit OK. Then over here under Processing Options, there's quite a few things. For example, you always want to check Align Source Images, and then you have two choices. One is by horizontal vertical shifts and the other by matching features. I always choose matching features. It gives a nicer and sharper blend or alignment of the images. If you have a lot of movement, you may need to work with this. Normally I don't have that problem, so I don't have to worry about that. I always check the reduce noise on the source images, and I always, once again, even though I've already done it in my Camera Raw software, I check reduce chromatic aberrations again here. And then we hit the pre-process button, and voila, we've got our 32-bit image, which in this case is already, the way I have the program set up, it's already jumped to the pre-processing. Now, one thing I like that's neat about Photomatix is that with the latest version, they give you this little screen or this little film strip thing with all kinds of presets here that are already closed in, and you can just kind of go through these things and choose on different ones. Now, this one happens to be the detail enhancer with everything set to the default, and you can go through various ones. This is the what they call the fusion, which is a different way of blending the images, and this is once again the default. Now, these are the two that I find for my work to be the most beneficial, because remember, I'm looking to create a photorealistic person, photograph. Architects, contractors, my clients that I work with are not into the illustrative look that you can get and that a lot of photographers really use HDR for. There's nothing wrong with that look. It's great, especially for certain kinds of art photographs. It's fantastic. But for my clients, if I want to sell images, I need to make these images look like real photographs. So the two areas that I work in are either the enhancer default or the diffusion or the fusion default. Now, for this image, we're going to use the enhancer default setting as a starting point. And that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to take this image, this is where it is going to start from, and we're going to hit the process button. And we now have this ready to be saved. So we're going to go File, Save As, and we're going to just save this in the same folder, and we'll hit Save. Okay, so once that's done, we have it saved in our working folder here. Here it is, right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into Lightroom, and this is where I do the most adjustments. Now, I've worked with the adjustment sliders in Photomatix, and I mean they work great, but I don't find that they help me that much for what I want to do. Now, maybe it's just me, but I have a hard time with it. But I find that Lightroom works fantastically. So we're going to drop that right onto Lightroom, and we're going to go ahead and hit the import button to import it into Lightroom. And let's get it up here on the screen. Here it is. Now we're going to double click it to open it up so we can look at it. Whoops, it dropped down to the timeline here. There we go, finally. And then we're going to go to the Develop tab. Okay, so that we can actually make changes on the image. Now, as you look at this right now, you can already see that the tonal ranges have really been softened, and we are getting some detail here that we didn't have before underneath. Our foliage has been brightened up a bit, but as it is right now, it looks a little bit flat, a little bit murky. So we want to work on that. We can look up here at our histogram, and you'll notice that we're clipping a little bit here on the white areas. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to we're going to move our recovery slider down to where we can get rid of that. So now we're not clipping anything anymore, and it took the whole 100 points of it this time. Usually we don't have that much, but this time we did. Okay, I'm going to drop the exposure down just a tad. Now the next thing we're going to do is looking down into dark areas. I'd like to have those areas be a little bit brighter. Not a lot brighter, but just a little bit brighter in there. So we're going to use the fill light slider to do that. And as you can see, we are kind of really flattening this out, because that in a way is what you're doing when you're working with HDR, is you're compressing all these tones. And this is not like real attractive. So we're going to use the black slider next to enhance what we have here, enhance our contrast. I don't like the contrast. It's a little too coarse, unsophisticated. I like the black slider. It seems to be the best. And we're going to move that over to about, in this particular case, we're going to set it at about 20. And then we're going to work with the brightness slider just a little bit. And let's see how much we can encourage this. And we can move this up quite a bit. Okay, and we may have to go back now that we've done this and put in just a little bit more of the black area here. Okay, then the next thing that I want to do is work with the clarity. And I work with my clarity up right around 55 to 60 is where I find that it works pretty good for me. Now, you can't just copy exactly what I'm doing, because remember, I'm working on very, very large files. And the larger the file, the more the adjustments that you have to apply. So if you have a much smaller file, your clarity, you may not be able to take it up as much as what I do. So here we are. Now we have a pretty doggone nice looking image right now. So at this point, we're ready to move out of Lightroom. We've done our work in Lightroom. So we're going to go export, and to get out of, I don't know why you can't do a file save as, but Lightroom's got to be contrary. So you have to do, if you're on a Mac, it would be Shift Control E or Shift Command E, Shift Control E if you're on a PC, and you'll get this window. And then you have to tell it where you want to put the image. So we're going to choose our folder on our desktop that we were working with, and it is this folder right here. And so now we're going to export the image. All right, so that's happened for us. Great. So now we can close Lightroom. And okay, let's go to our folder. And there's our Lightroom version of the photograph, and we're going to open it in Photoshop now, because this is where we'll do our finishing work. Okay, it's showing at 100%. I'm going to stretch it up a little bit bigger. Now, as you can see, we've got some sensor dust on here. So the first thing that you would be doing is, depending on how meticulous you are with your sensors, you'll be cleaning this up. And this is usually pretty easy to do, at least in a sky area. You can just use the spot healing brush, and it works really great. However, sometimes when you have sensor dust here on the subject itself, now you have to use a combination of techniques to get rid of it. Sometimes you can use the spot healing brush, or just the healing brush. A lot of times you can do it with the clone stamp tool, which I think we can do with this one. which if we, oops, hit the wrong option key. There we go, and then you can line up your lines and get all of that to go. But then anyway, you have to go over the entire image and have it cleaned up. So now, once we've got it cleaned up, we want to look at the image and decide if there are any particular areas that we think we still need to select and work on in order to improve our contrast. And I see that this building right here, I'm not really liking, it's looking a little flat to me. So I'm going to use the lasso tool and roughly come around here, and then we're going to put a pretty large feather on this tool, and then we will hide the marching ants and go to our layers palette, and then we can start to adjust the contrast here, and see this becomes a lot nicer for us to do that. And a lot of times now what I will do when I'm making selections in architectural work is I don't try to get right on the line and make, you know, perfect selections. You don't have to do that in order to do it. You can get close to the edges, but then when you use a fairly large feather, it works really, really nice for you, and it just saves you buku tons of time. So we'll hide the marching ants, go Command or Control L again to get our panel back for this, and as you can see, that has perked up nicely. Increase the contrast there. Now let's take a look at our building here, and I think we could, you know, we can do a little bit here to enhance the way this is going to look. So we're going to come down like this. There's an area down there. I'm not going to get too much into that. I want to handle that separately. So we're coming up. We're making, as I was explaining before, a rough selection. And so we'll hide that again. And we will do this. And now we can pick this up. And we can make this really pop. Okay. Now, we've got a very, very nice looking image now. We're in really good shape with this. And if we compare this to just a camera image, a straight image from the camera, we're going to go ahead and open this up just so you can see. There's our straight image right out of the camera. You can see how dark this is. It's just totally black here. Our trees are lifeless and dead looking. This black marble, or black granite, I should say, around the base of the building is not looking very good. This building back here is just kind of a black, dark blob. But, you know, that's about as good as you're going to get using a single shot with the camera. Now you can go in here and work like crazy to try to enhance this, but you're never going to be able to come up to something that's this nice with the area here. Now if you feel these foliage is a little bright, which it really sort of is, we're going to go ahead and just kind of select this a little bit right here. And let's see, 30 might be too big for this. Nope, I think that'll work. And let's see if we can pull our tree foliage down a little bit, because that's, there we go. See, if we bring the midtones down on this tree a little bit, we still have nice life in that green area, but it has become a lot darker and looking the way it should be. Okay, so you could stop right now and just do one last thing, which is to sharpen the image. We always want to sharpen our images because in digital photography, I don't care what kind of camera you've got, the images are going to be somewhat soft. So we need to run a little sharpening. Oops. And I need to escape from here and deselect where the tree was and redo this. We'll go sharpen, unsharp mask, and you can see how that is jumped up left over. That's a little bit too much, I think. So we can, and you want to do the sharpening always at 100%. So if we go like that, that's pretty nice right there. Okay, that's a pretty nice thing. Now, the last thing we can do, if you're so inclined, is to look at various presentations of this image. This is the entire image, the way it is, right here. So, I'm going to hit save and save this. Now what we can do is, maybe you want a black and white image here. So, let's go to our layers palette. And this is one of the really nice things with CS5 that's really cool. And we've got this, and we can choose the black and white filter. And without any manipulation at all, that gives us a pretty nice black and white image. But we have all these sliders. Let's see what we can do if we start to mess with this. Oh, see, we can take those reds down a little bit. That's nice. And we can punch the yellows up just a little bit. The greens we can bring up a little. The blues, which would be in the skies, we can take that down a bit. And so that really helps us out. Now, we can even do one more thing, and this is my favorite. I'm not a big fan, well, I am a big fan of black and white, but generally speaking, I don't do too many just plain straight black and whites. I usually like some degree of coloring in my black and white images. I find it just enhances it and it makes them look a lot nicer. So I'm going to click on the hue saturation palette here, and then I'm going to click on colorize. And I'm giving away my secret formula, but the combination that I like is for the hue to be set at 47, which is this, and then the saturation I bring down to about 7. Now this is my starting point. And then if I want it a little bit more on the red side, I can bring this back a little bit like this, or you can go the other way. But that gives a really nice look to your finished image. So either way you want to do it, you can have the full color image, or you can have the straight black and white, or you can have a toned image. But this is the way I do HDR, and it gives me a beautifully compressed full tonality image, and it's a full photographic looking image. It doesn't have the the look that that HDR look that a lot of people have. There's nothing wrong with that, like I said, and if that's what you're going for, then by all means, have at it, go for it. And then one other thing that a lot of times I will do is, looking at my skies here, I'll go and with architectural photography, it's usually fairly easy, but I will do my polyagonal lasso tool, and I will select my sky areas, and I'll get rid of them and replace it with another area. And I'm doing this very roughly, because normally I would do this on at about 400%. Now at this point, I would really pay particular attention to getting my image selected. But here, just so I can show you very quickly what we would have, I'm just roughly doing this, whoops, because I want you to get an impression here for what you can do. And we're almost done. We're going to scale up here. Okay. All right, so we've done that. And we'll put a slight feather on here of about 0.7. Okay. And we're going to duplicate this layer now here. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the bottom layer off, and I'm going to hit the delete key, and we've deleted our sky. What we want to do right now, just to show you how cool this is we're going to go File, Open, and we're going to go into my Skies folder. We're going to open up a new sky. And I happen to really like this sky, and I use it quite a lot. So we're going to drag this into our folder, or I mean into our image. Okay. And we're going to put it down behind here. Oh, that's starting to look pretty nice. Now, except for we're going to have to go in here, and we're going to have to do a little work on this sky. Since our, oh, by the way, you'll notice that it's already, since our black and white and our colorize layers are up above, they are acting on all layers below it. So our sky comes in and it's already transformed into a black and white and colorized sky. But what we're going to do here on this sky layer is we're going to enhance the contrast a bit and see what we can do with this so that we have a little bit more drama. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, so we can close that, and then of course we can move this sky around a bit to see how big, where we want it, and that's about it right there. And then we can go here on this layer, and let's enhance our contrast just a little bit more, just a tad, and there you have it. So now you can, with a little bit of work, you can do it. Now we've done this all in real time, so you can see how fast this went. Now I did not take a lot of time with selecting the corners up there to this building, so if we had a full resolution picture here, we were able to enlarge it to 200-300%, you would see the faults in it. So, but you would be able to do that very quickly in this kind of a building like this. So there we have, and there's the way I do HDR with Photoshop, Lightroom, and Photomatics, and we get some pretty incredible images doing this, and our clients are very, very happy. And for other types of HDR where you want the art look, there's no problem with that. There are tons of educational videos out there, and a lot of photographers doing that you can purchase their CDs or whatever. But this little video is benefit of business for photographers, and we'll see you the next time. Thanks for now.